I'm Jason Gorby for ThatShelf.com, and we're here to talk from the Cannes International Film Festival about the opening film, Maïwenn's Jeanne de Barry, starring Johnny Depp. So, opening films at Cannes are always sort of a hit and miss affair. I was certainly here for Grace of Monaco, one of the most egregious examples. It sort of gets everything up and running, gets people excited about what's taking place at the festival. Some films work, some films don't, and this one I think is very solidly in the middle. I think a lot of audiences are going to be responding positively or negatively to the fact that this is Johnny Depp speaking in French with a royal performance, as it were. But fundamentally, it is a presentation of a story which is undertold. Essentially the last concubine or the last consort of the second last king in the Louis reign. It's sumptuously shot. It has moments of great grandeur, but it doesn't necessarily all come together in the way that one would hope it would. Depp is fantastic. He absolutely plays the sort of lost lecherous king in a way which is completely compelling. I mean, everything going on, whether we're separating art from artists, I leave that to others. For right now, he's a really great actor. And as a great actor, there are moments where he's sort of bringing, in a funny way, some of that, let's call it baggage, to the screen, so that you find a little bit of both charisma and disgust in everything that he's actually doing. And it works very, very well, gotta say. Unfortunately, he's one of the bright spots of this. In a film directed by this powerful woman, she stars in the film herself, every other female character is completely two-dimensional in ways that almost are like, when we talk about cartoon-like, it's Cinderella. It's like literally almost evil stepsisters, like conniving, very simplistic, very two-dimensionally drawn. And yet so many of the men in the story, the attendant, a beautiful, beautiful performance. Even the way that some of those that are sort of social climbing are given a dimensionality, are given senses of kindness and cruelty, as opposed to just straight up being terrible people or straight up being angels. And because of that, you get this weird sense that everyone else has to be flat in order for the one central character to actually shine, the Jean character to actually shine. And it just never quite comes together. I would have loved Maïwenn to have sort of, I mean, it seems ridiculous to say, but she focuses the divide between her actually being on camera and her actually being behind the camera simultaneously, obviously. And so often that works, but it feels here disjointed in ways that it's possible would have been ameliorated by her finding someone else to be portraying this role. And what's kind of unsettling, upsetting, frustrating is that there's actually three characters that actually play Jean. They have a very young girl, and then they have this sort of adolescent to early teens actress who's fantastic. She's in the movie for like a minute and a half, and you get this sense, this light, this lift, and then Maïwenn shows up in the role, and it seems forced. It seems that she is not necessarily the right person to be acting this story. I believe she's the right person to be telling the story. I'm not sure that she's the right person to be engaged directly with his character. I just don't think she pulled it off, frankly. And because of that, there's this tension behind, between the craft of the film, between the sumptuousness, the shooting at Versailles, the amazing costumes, the very surreal courtly affairs, and all of that at play, and just this, standout central performance, which just for me did not work at all. Now, the film owes a lot to Barry Lyndon. It's got the narration. It has even a bunch of zoom shots, absolutely evocative of one of the great works of cinema. It's a bit of chutzpah to do that, but when cinemagraphically there are moments that are quite beautiful, I'm not sure that it evokes the subtlety and the sort of dark comedy that something like Lyndon does. It's a bold move, overt or not. I'm going with overt, the comparisons don't quite benefit the film as much as perhaps it should. Nonetheless, people go in expecting this thing to be just terrible, and I think that it's fine. It's a good film. It's not a great film. It's a pretty decent way of opening it up. The film festival sort of gets you going. As I said, there are the odds of this playing in North America are slim. Just in general, it's a French language royal period piece that wasn't going to get a lot of attention anyway, and there's just so much nonsense, justifiably or not, around Johnny Depp that it would be surprising if festivals in North America actually decided to actually showcase this film, despite the fact that, of course, championing strong female filmmakers is the mandate of many of them. So we'll see how that absolutely plays out. That's not for me to decide. All I know is that I watched the film. The film was fine, if not good. The Depp performance is great. Maïwenn's performance is not so great. Her direction is good. The storytelling itself works well, save for the fact that many of the characters are underdeveloped. But there's some moments which absolutely shine. And I think it will be too easy actually to dismiss this film more than it'll be too easy to praise it. I think that there are moments that absolutely are to be celebrated. These tiny character beats that, thanks to some committed performances by some of the secondary characters, that absolutely make it well worth your time to at least explore and to sort of experience living in this world of sumptuousness. And there's something to be said about the ridiculous nature, the sort of rote nature of the French courtly system when we're here at a festival, engaged with different badge levels and which lineup you go in and all these other rituals, excuse me, that we deal with here at the Cannes Film Festival. So in a funny way, something about the ostentation of the French court at the end of its reign, just before everybody was about to be beheaded. I don't know, it seems like a pretty fitting metaphor if you want to be super cynical about what we're dealing with here in the world of cinema, on the grand stage, as everybody from around the world comes to this beautiful city to sit indoors and watch films from around the world. From thatshelf.com, I am Jason Gorber. Thanks so much for watching. There'll be plenty of coverage here on the website and on our channel. Please subscribe, follow us on social media. We will see you next video. All the best. Take care.